Hey, what's going on, guys? Garrett here. As you can see from the video you're watching, this is not a typical video review for me. Usually I have a nice lovely little set behind me and you can usually see my face, which you can't right now, and that's because I'm moving. I'm in the process of moving as we speak, so all the things that are usually behind me, well, they're in boxes right now. So I thought I would still pop on here and talk a little bit about Free Guy, which I just saw. This is going to be a bit of an impromptu review. I don't really have anything written or planned for this, but I kind of just wanted to give you my quick little thoughts on the film. I think there's something really interesting about Free Guy, and that's the fact that as a society, I feel like we have all collectively known about this movie for a really long time. I mean, this trailer was posted probably 10 years ago, it feels like. And I know I'm not alone in this, but it felt like every single time I went and saw a movie at the theater, I would see a trailer for this movie. So I feel like I've been living with this movie for as long as I can remember. And given the fact that this trailer was released before the pandemic, that just really feels like such a long time ago. And because this movie was so delayed by the pandemic and we're just now seeing it, I think this was a film that maybe my initial anticipation for, which I will admit was kind of minimal, has still diminished even further. And I think aside from some of the cast of this film, as well as the basic premise of this movie, there wasn't really much else that really attracted me to this movie. I think the idea of this film is a pretty compelling one and one that I was interested to see play out. The story of Free Guy goes like this. You have a character in a video game and his name is Guy. He is an NPC or a non-playable character. He's kind of like a background character that you would see in a video game. And throughout the course of this film, he begins to learn that he is not a real person. Think of it like the Truman Show if Truman was a video game character and he was discovering that he was just that. And I think on the surface it is a pretty interesting idea for a movie, and I think the addition of Ryan Reynolds is just another little factor that got me a little bit interested, kind of piqued my interest in this movie just a little bit though. And despite the fact that my anticipation for this movie was still so mild, it's kind of interesting that this film still managed to disappoint me, because I just really did not care for Free Guy really at all. This isn't necessarily a bad movie, it's just one of those movies that you see and you're just like, all right, that was a movie that I certainly saw. In a week or so, I probably won't remember this movie, but I know for a fact that I did see it. And I think one of my major disappointments in this movie was actually how Ryan Reynolds was utilized in this movie. I think when you watch Ryan Reynolds movies, it's easy to see why he is a movie star, because he's this very handsome, funny, charismatic guy. It's easy to see why he gets so many roles in movies nowadays. Audiences really do seem to like him, and the evidence is right there on screen. But I think since Deadpool has come out, he's really just kind of seemed to play that character. And there definitely is an appeal to that because Deadpool was such a huge success and Ryan is so perfect as Deadpool, but it feels like ever since that movie came out, he's just kind of doing that again. And although there definitely is a certain appeal to that, I think for myself, in regards to the comedy in this movie specifically, I think it just started to wear a bit thin for me, and kind of the joke just wasn't really there. And it felt like, even though I'd never heard these jokes before, it just felt all so familiar and just didn't really play well for me. And I think that is by far one of the biggest detractors of Free Guy, is that by all intents and purposes, this is an action comedy. But for the most part, this movie is just not very funny really at all. There are only a few moments that I can think of that even got a bit of a laugh out of me. Not like a bellied over, crying kind of laugh, but just a little bit more than a chuckle. And additionally, the action part of the action comedy is really lacking in this movie. And it's not even that a lot of the action in this film is bad, it's a little bland if anything, but it's just so infrequent too. There's a lot of action that happens behind the characters where things are exploding and cars are flipping over and there's helicopters and RPGs and all this crazy stuff, but it's not really the focus of the scene. We're really focusing on these characters, and there are only a few moments where they actually get involved in the action, and I really could have just used a lot more of that. Thankfully though, the one thing that does kind of bolster this movie from being completely unwatchable is this kind of nice commentary that it has about the current landscape of video games and Twitch and YouTube and that whole kind of fandom, that whole kind of industry there. And although I can applaud the attempt made here, I think it's just kind of buried in this pretty unfunny, uninteresting movie that doesn't really have great action and kind of just makes Ryan Reynolds do what he's been doing for the past 5 or 6 years. I could see why some people would like this movie, but for myself, I was just kind of uninterested by it, and I was kind of just waiting for it to be over because I knew I was just going to forget about it the moment I walked out of the theater. So did you guys see Free Guy? What did you think about it? Make sure you leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, you can click on the link down below where you can subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.